Clemson football has been known to have big-time quarterbacks since Dabo Swinney took over. It started with Tajh Boyd, then went to Deshaun Watson, then went to Trevor Lawrence, and then was supposed to go to DJ Uiagalelei. You can also throw in Kelly Bryant there, but those two guys can kind of be skipped. And eventually they found their next great quarterback in Cade Klubnik. He was another 5-star who decided to go to Clemson, and it's actually turned out to be a great move for him. Cade was one of the best quarterbacks in college football last year, and he returns in 2025, hoping to maybe get a Heisman Trophy, get Clemson further in this year's playoff, or improve his draft stock. No matter what, he's going to be really exciting to watch, but Clemson overall has a pretty crazy quarterback room. Sure, it's a little bit limited this year, as they only have 3 guys, but they are all super unique. In today's video, we will continue my series taking a look at quarterback rooms, as this time we'll focus on Clemson, as we'll go through who each and every option are, talk about their stories, how they got to this point, and what they potentially bring to the table. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Clemson's crazy quarterback room for 2025. Alright, so our first option for Clemson is going to be Chris Denson. This is a guy that pretty much nobody knows about, and I didn't know much about before today's video, but going back to an assignment in 4th grade, Clemson's current freshman quarterback had 3 wishes he could make. In order, his list included make it to the NFL, become strong enough to lift any amount of weight, and then earn straight A's for the rest of his life. It was Chris Denson's dream to play high-level college football since he was in kindergarten, and his mother would attend parent-teacher conferences, and Denson's instructor would tell her he would always talk about football. His mom said, quote, him writing that out and continuously saying that and working towards that, he's being able to get closer and closer to his dream coming true. Chris ended up playing flag football when he was just 4 years old and then transitioned to full contact football. His favorite players growing up were guys like Michael Vick and Tajh Boyd, who was actually Clemson's current offensive analyst and an assistant quarterbacks coach for the Tigers. He'd eventually arrive at Plant City High School in Tampa, Florida, and his high school coach said when he first arrived, his max bench press was 185, and then he exited by doing 270. Kinda cool. Denson's journey to becoming a Power 4 football quarterback was far from guaranteed. He would not start until his junior year, causing other schools, even Clemson, to look past him in recruiting. Coastal Carolina, Minnesota, Pitt, USF, Arkansas State, and North Dakota State were all teams that were eyeing him and would eventually pull the trigger and give him offers. He would also decide to go up the Atlantic coast and commit to Coastal Carolina. He chose the Chanticleers over Pitt, Minnesota, USF, and NDSU, and maybe he could be the next Grayson McCall. Who knows? But on film, Chris Denson looked like he had it all. He threw a great deep ball, he minimized turnovers, he was an explosive runner, and didn't mind going off script, and usually picked up 10 or more yards when he ran. Yet, in the late fall of his senior year, he was an unheralded 3-star quarterback set to play college football at Coastal Carolina. Not bad, but that's not exactly where he wanted to be. By the end though, he was a star, as Denson would have 2,400 yards and 28 touchdowns through the air, and then 1,200 yards and 12 scores on the ground. The team went 9-3, and this included a postseason win. His coach said, quote, Denson gave the kids here something to believe in, and he came here and he showed that if you work hard, you can make it happen. As a senior, he got even better, as he had about 3,500 yards and 40 total touchdowns, and led Plant City to the second round of the state playoffs, which included a 437-yard, 3-touchdown performance in his final game. He said, quote, Clemson's getting a very well put together dual threat. My pocket presence and how accurate I am as well, I expect all that to be able to show up, and I can play anywhere in the country and be a dog. Wait a second, why is he going to Clemson? I thought he was committed to Coastal. Well, 4-star quarterback Blake Hebert flipped from Clemson to Notre Dame, so all of a sudden they were interested. That happened on October 14th. Then they decided to reopen their options, and their GM, Jordan Sorrell, really liked what they saw from Denson's tape and showed it to Dabo Swinney, who really adored it. Dabo Swinney watched the highlights over and over again and was stumped. Swinney said, quote, I watched it like 10 times. I'm literally trying to figure out what I'm missing and I can't. I'm like, okay, he must be 5'8" or something. Well, spoiler alert, he was not 5'8". Swinney sent offensive coordinator Garrett Riley to Plant City to watch a playoff game and came away impressed despite his team losing. His mom said, quote, Chris knew that training under them is something that doesn't come to everyone. He said, Mom, sometimes you only get one opportunity and sometimes you have to take it, and just getting that offer from Clemson was a dream come true. He flipped to the Tigers, saying that he loved his growth as a player and was going to be with one of the best coaching staffs in the country. This past spring, Denson played in one series during Clemson's modified spring game, and he completed all 4 of his passes for 53 yards, with his longest completion going for 31 yards to freshman running back Gideon Davidson. He also ran the ball for 9 yards. Barring significant quarterback injuries, Denson will 100% redshirt this season and will likely compete for Clemson's starting job in 2027 or 2028. That could also change. Chris Denson's future is bright, as he has a dynamic skill set, a tireless work ethic, a chip on his shoulder, and a competitive drive. Some think he could be the next great quarterback for Clemson at some point, but that might take some time. According to 24/7 Sports, Denson was a 3-star recruit, the number 35 quarterback, and the 617th best player in the class of 2025. 24/7 Sports recruiting analyst Tom Loy was fired up about his long-term trajectory, saying that Chris Denson was the most underrated quarterback in the country. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out, but he'll have to battle it out with Christopher Vizzina for that backup spot. Neither of Christopher Vizzina's parents played college sports, and he was a long-time wide receiver before finally playing quarterback in 9th grade. He eventually started to blow up in the state of Alabama, but while some of his friends were getting talked to by Power 5 coaches, he was only hearing from UAB. During his freshman year, Vizzina had to play a bit because his friend broke his ankle, and then he got a trainer and started learning how to play the quarterback spot and was good at it. He ended up having pretty good film at Briarwood Christian and got offers from Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Duke. He would enter the summer of 2021 as a lesser-known 3-star recruit. He said, quote, "At the time it was a fair assessment because going into that, I hadn't really put myself on full display yet." A month later, he was essentially going throw for throw with 5-star recruit Arch Manning, and this happened at a Clemson football camp. That while Manning might have been their top recruiting target, Vizzina could also be an anchor of a quarterback class. Vizzina said, quote, "I just say I balled out. I showed them I could sling it, and watching someone on film is different from watching someone in person, and they watched every rap. They watched me throw great, and they watched me make mistakes. But once they saw who I was, they were like, man, this might be our guy." The first time Christopher Vizzina met Dabo Swinney, they didn't talk like a quarterback recruit and a national title-winning coach would talk. They talked like 2 Alabama guys crossing paths in South Carolina, as Vizzina was from Birmingham and Swinney was from a nearby small town. They started talking about favorite local restaurants, and Chris said, quote, "He immediately had that edge. It was so much easier to trust him and build a relationship because he was so easy to talk to. He's bringing up certain spots you'd only know if you lived there. And I'm thinking, man, no other coach would be saying that." Sure, all that talk got him some places, but after winning 2 national championships, Swinney's track record spoke for itself, and also he had some good quarterbacks in his past. Going to 2022, Clemson got a commitment from Cade Klubnik, so that meant that Manning would reportedly remove them from conversation. Vizzina was now their top target. All the while, he didn't even hold an offer from Clemson, as he said, quote, "Clemson was recruiting me really hard. The Tigers had been keeping informal tabs on him since his freshman year, and their QB's coach, Brandon Streeter, got involved when he was a sophomore. Eventually, in November of 2021, Clemson would formally offer him, and this prompted another round of major offers, and Vizzina at one point was considered a 5-star recruit in 24/7 Sports composite ranking. Ahead of his junior year, everyone noticed a change in Vizzina's work ethic, as apparently he decided to avoid July 4th parties and instead spent the holiday on Briarwood's football field. In 2021, he passed for 2,000 yards and 16 touchdowns, and also ran for 600 more and 15 scores. Vizzina referred to Alabama as his dream offer, and Tuscaloosa was an hour away, but that's not how it would go. He dropped the final 6 of Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Auburn, and Mississippi. At the time, Arch Manning and Christopher Vizzina were the only 2 quarterbacks that Clemson decided to offer, and eventually he would pull the trigger. He cited their family atmosphere, their national brand, and he just had a gut feeling in 2022 that it was the perfect place for him. At the time of his commitment, he was ranked around 50th in the country, and while he wasn't a 5-star, he was probably going to finish top 5 in the class at the quarterback spot. As a senior, he averaged over 200 yards per game and threw for 16 touchdowns in just 9 games. He was also seen as a dual threat, running for 941 yards and 26 touchdowns in his last 2 years as a starter. That's pretty insane too. He wasn't shy about making his long-term goals clear, as he wanted to be the next Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence. According to 24/7 Sports, Vizzina was a 4-star recruit, the number 6 quarterback, and the 75th best player in the class of 2023. Headed into his freshman year, Former walk-on Hunter Helms had taken him up on the depth chart, so it looked like he was just going to redshirt and prepare for the future. Vizzina has not played substantial snaps in the field due to Cade Klubnik being there, but maybe he'll get an opportunity. But speaking of Cade, let's talk about him. Cade Klubnik has had quite the journey, as his whole life his goal has been to play college football someday. He began his football career at the age of 3, and by the time he was in 5th grade, apparently teachers were talking about how this guy was going to be really good. He was a natural athlete, a natural leader, and by the time he got to Westlake High School, he had hype. He said, quote, "Playing QB at Westlake has always been a dream of mine since I was in the 2nd or 3rd grade. It became a reality his sophomore year back in 2019 as he won a 3-person battle for the job, and he started a few games during the regular season. In fact, guys like Drew Brees, Nick Foles, and Sam Ehlinger all played at Westlake and looked like he was next up. Klubnik got to be there for the ride, as Westlake won a state title in 2019, and 2020 was supposed to be his season to take over, but everything got thrown up in the air. Many wondered if high school football would be played at all, and it would resume, and he got that state title. He would outduel near-perfect recruit Quinn Ewers, going for 220 yards and 1 touchdown. Going into his senior year, Cade was apparently hurt, but he balled out. Despite missing 3 games, he completed 71% of his passes for 3,200 yards and 43 touchdowns, while also rushing for 465 yards and 12 more scores. Before that, he was just your average 4-star recruit, so where would he go? Well, he had a list of 30 offers, including Texas A&M, North Carolina, Texas, Clemson, and Florida, and he would find his school, but it would take another 2022 quarterback to make that happen. Ty Simpson decided to commit to Alabama, and then Dabo Swinney finally offered him, and Cade would appreciate the honesty. His coach said, quote, "This was his number 1. I absolutely believe that he garnered a lot of trust in them, and he had to because he really liked them, and he had to take a leap of faith. Eventually he committed to Clemson, and their head coach was a huge factor." He said, quote, "You look at Coach Swinney, and you look at what he's done, and I just can't imagine not wanting to play for that guy." Many now wonder how the Texas legend didn't stay put in Texas, with one sports writer saying, quote, "Really? It's just good recruiting by Clemson. The Tigers lost out on Simpson and identified a really talented kid in Texas, where the 2 major in-state schools already had quarterback commitments. That's what elite level recruiting is about, formulating a plan and then attacking it. He was a legend in the state of Texas, and some said he was better than Quinn Ewers, but how good was he?" Well, 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting Steve Wiltfong said, quote, "The last 2 years, his high school football resume means he's a Texas high school football legend. He ended up finishing out as an All-American, and not only was he a big-time football player, but he was a great leader. According to 24/7 Sports, he was now a 5-star recruit, the number 1 quarterback, and the 18th best player in the country." The hype ended up being unreal for Cade as he arrived at Clemson, and he would sit behind DJ at first. He'd eventually appear at the end of the year before taking over these past 2 seasons. In 2023, Cade had growing pains, but he still managed to throw for 2,800 yards and 19 touchdowns. 2024 would be his breakout moment, as this past season he threw for 3,600 yards with 36 touchdowns and also ran for 463 yards and 7 scores. Despite a couple of weird losses, Clemson would get to the college football playoff, where Cade definitely showed plenty of potential. He decided to come back for the 2025 season, and he's now considered one of the top quarterbacks in the country, a Heisman Trophy candidate, and a potential first-round pick if things go according to plan. He's got 3 incredible receivers to throw the ball to, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. For now, he's obviously going to be the starter. If he goes down, Christopher Vizzina will be ready to step up, and then Chris Denson will hopefully learn the playbook, learn the system, and get to develop more. I like all 3 of these guys, and while the list is short, it is sweet. I really enjoyed telling you guys the stories of these 3 quarterbacks, but what do you guys think? If you're a Clemson fan, what do you think of these guys, and which school should I cover next? I've already covered a ton of them, and if you want to watch another video like this, check out my video on Alabama's 2025 quarterback room. I hope to see you guys again soon. Until next time, peace.